So Jordan, start with Spencer Sanders. You've faced him often over the years. So what does he do? What do you have to do to slow him down?
Well, I mean, the best thing he does is throw on the run. He's always been really good at finding his targets on the run, and he's he's one of the most elusive guys we've played. He knows how to kind of like a running back. He knows how to set his runs up in space, create angles, and it's usually just enough to get a first down off of the scramble. It's probably what he does better than anything.
They haven't been as effective offensively the last 4 games as they were earlier. And I know he's been hurt. Can you see that on film when you watch that he's struggling, or what do you see?
I mean, I think I don't know if it's. Yeah, you can see it a little bit, especially in the OU game. Not that it's. I think it's a number of things. I think it's once you are playing that well into the season, you have to take some time off. Maybe it's a rhythm issue. I think it's a communication issue a little bit with receivers, at least in the Oklahoma game that shows up on film. Some of those, not necessarily just blatantly bad throws or not throwing the ball effectively. I think it was, from what I could see, just some communication, which again comes with going in and out of rhythm when you're a little bit beat up. But he's still, those same plays I was talking about in your first question. He still made some of those, so it's still there.
Biggest difference, explosives from them this year than maybe years in the past? I mean, you look at their yards per carry average down, not as many explosive plays in the passing game. Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah. I mean, they're not as haven't been. They're they're not using the tight ends the same way. And then, like I said, I think most of those statistics that you see go back to Spencer. A lot of those rushing yards in the past have come from him creating things. You go back the last 2 years, and they've been as good in 20 and 21 at running back as anybody in our league has this year and any year before. So, the Warren kid is. I think I saw he was pushing and pushing for a lot of playing time up for the Steelers. So he was a really, really good player.
Do you like this Thanksgiving week? Just football all the time, and then obviously a little time with family, getting a dinner with the players. Do you like this? That you sort of
it's essentially very similar to a bowl week. Kind of prep. You don't have really a whole lot going on other than just football. Get some time. Family time with you guys that you normally don't get when they're in the grind of class and things like that. So, yeah, it's a fun week.
Now that you've watched the film, what were the issues against Kansas State?
I mean, number one, we just didn't play well. Number two, if you just go through the plays there, the first quarter and a half that really hurt. We've talked about pressure, and y'all have heard me say feast or famine. When you zero blitz or you pressure against a run team, and one of those plays, they had us. They just had us. The other one, we didn't play very well in that particular call, and then the two long pass plays. Those are things that we've had in our defense the entire time. Their spring day one install against that personnel. One of them we actually had worked the entire offseason because it's the same set of plays that Oklahoma ran in the 2-minute drill last year with 2 tight ends, and we worked that a bunch. Why we didn't play it right in the game, I don't know. Then we had, Ruffin had a really good pick, but he could have, had 2 more go through his hands. One was a touchdown to the tight end. And a whole bunch of reasons that I could say, and nobody cares about. We didn't play that well, especially for first quarter and a half. after that, we settled in, thought we did some good things. If I look at Deuce Vaughn's numbers, if you'd have given me that at the beginning of the week, I'd have taken it.
We talked a lot this season about, and with Neil as well, on how the practice looks throughout the season, and maybe there were a couple games he said where he thought the team practiced really, really well, and got surprised when game unfolded and they didn't start well. For you, how do you look back in retrospect and think your defense practiced throughout the week in terms of entering this game? Was it one of those where you thought you were going to have a great performance and it just didn't happen? Or
Yeah, I mean, if I go back to the last, couple of weeks, you perform. I mean, you prepare, you practice, you perform. All right. For those last couple of weeks, especially last week, I thought the preparation was really good with our kids. Thought our practice was really good. But really, the only thing that matters at the end of the week is 60 minutes that you perform. And you never know why you come out the way that you do when you're hot, or why that you come out the way that you do when you're cold. I mean, if anybody's got that answer with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids, you got some magic. You need to bottle it up if you got the answer to that. But we just didn't.
Have you ever coached a team or a game, let's say, where you had as big a differential about the way they played between your front and your secondary? I mean, it looked like your front played really good, and the secondary, they for half the game they were.
Well, I have, and there's only so much one piece can do. You talk about pressure has been pretty good to us the last couple of weeks, and sometimes you get into a cycle where essentially that you can rob Peter to pay Paul, and you just the bottom line is everybody in any unit you have to play well all together, and we didn't do it.
Raleigh Collins, he's played 4 games. Is that a decision you guys going to redshirt him? Or?
That's a question for Neil. He makes all those.
Jordan, when they got you on a play, I'm guessing you're talking about the touchdown run, right? The one
Yeah.
It looked like you guys knew on the sideline something was wrong.
Yeah.
You only get 3 timeouts. I understand that. What's the conflict like for a coach of trying to get everybody situated quickly? Do I call a timeout? Do I just cross my fingers? How do you run through that?
Well, and again, that's probably a better question for Neil. But as far as how the timeout's usage, but that particular play, the first touchdown was something that we underplayed, overplayed by probably a foot. But the second one was the one I was talking about where they had us. It was it's a good offense play versus a defense play that's not a very good call for that. Now, the situation on that is off of a long play tempo, all right, and you're trying to do, there's 2 ways you play tempo. You can just get lined up and try to keep everything in front of you, which works sometimes, doesn't work, or you can try to pressure to try to get the snowball stopped, right? And that's what we were trying to do. Essentially what happened was a motion come across, and the guy that's tracking that man on the motion got behind the play, which is his man is his run fit. He got behind the play. He missed the tackle by a half a yard. And the problem is when you're in that structure of a blitz, there's no, like I said, you're gambling. It's feast or famine. So there's no backstop to it. You just hope that the blitz gets it down. When it don't, it's kind of hold on. And that was the case right there. It wasn't necessarily a situation where, hey, we knew we were in a bad call, we needed a timeout. It was a tempo. That was our tempo plan going into the week. If we thought we needed it to get the ball down, give them a moment of pause, and that's the when you live in the blitz world, that's the nature of what sometimes that happens.
Was that when they were in trips to the field and they ran backside?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it very simply runs away from the defender. If he doesn't trigger on the motion right now and he gets behind it, it's a tough play.
Last play of the season, last game of the season, whether it's a bowl game or this one, is there a finality when you're talking to the seniors? Does it feel different than other games?
For me personally, it does with this group. and Dante Stills, Taj Austin, Exree Lowe, I'm Bryce, Sam, a lot of those guys, and I'm not naming everybody. Just in their tenure here, kids have been through a lot, really have been through a lot of things, and not very many of them easy. If you look at COVID and you look at, all the other things, and quite honestly, they didn't have to be here, and they are, and I'm very appreciative of it.
A year ago, in this spot, you were playing for bowl eligibility at Kansas. How much different is it this week around, and is it tougher to find motivation?
Well, I mean, yeah, no. I think every one of these kids, coaches, want to have some type of postseason opportunity. But you got 12 games to get that done, and we didn't. I think the number one important thing, and for me and to the message to the guys is anybody that's, I just mentioned those guys, anybody that's trying to start the next page of their career, their next part of their life, when they start something, they want to end it on a positive note. And then for the young guys coming back, you want to carry that, any win, bowl, end of season, it doesn't matter. That's momentum you carry into next year. So there's a lot to play for, and our guys are competitive. They want to win no matter what the situation is. It's not like nobody's not trying to win or not trying to play well. So I think our guys, they got a little bounce to them. They did Sunday when we come in, and so get 3 good days of prep, finish it off Friday, and get on a plane and go play.
Without bowl practices and all the development opportunities for young players, do you do anything different this week to maybe give guys more practice time or get guys in the game, because there's no tomorrow for this season, right?
Right. Well, yeah, you do, but we've done a lot more developmental work during the practice week this year. Now the time frame is shorter, whether it's 10 minutes of offensive line, defensive line work with 7-on-7 on the other end, so that you're not beating and banging them a bunch. But then we've done a lot more of 10-minute segments of team, whether it be on Tuesday or Wednesday, with that developmental group than we ever have. So with the time that you lose in bowl prep, I think we've done a lot of that this fall, trying to prepare for next spring. So, and there's some guys out there that have some bright futures.
Do they get a chance this week just because?
If they have games left, yeah.
Yeah.
The guys that have time left, that we'll probably roll some guys out there, see what we got.
Good freshman group. You sort of insinuated that. You like this freshman group?
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think guys like Christian Stokes, Raleigh Collins, we just mentioned, who has played in some situations and more than what he's probably ready for, but that'll pay off. Sonny Redwood, exact same situation. Trey Lathan, going to be a really, really good player. I look at I even look at Hershey. Hershey's essentially, a high school kid, had 1 year of junior college. Take that kid again, probably being put in some situations that is, that he needs development to be really, really good at, and he will. Just his body type, his athleticism. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a really, really talented young group.
Okay, anything else for Coach Lesley?
Thanks, guys.